The BSO Symposium took center stage, putting the spotlight on authentic Black stories and their profound impact on the world. This landmark event brought together decision makers, broadcasters, streamers, funders, distributors, producers, and creatives from the screen industry to explore the depth and breadth of Black narratives. Throughout a series of engaging sessions, attendees delved into the rich tapestry of Black experiences, voices, and perspectives that have long been underrepresented. The symposium provided a platform for meaningful discussions on how to elevate Black stories and ensure they receive the representation they deserve in media and entertainment. Keynote speakers offered their insights on the challenges and opportunities within the industry, sparking a wave of creativity and collaboration. A standout moment of the event was a captivating performance by acclaimed artist Jelly Black. Her soulful music resonated with the audience, celebrating the power of Black culture.
Lean on me, so you can lean on me, so you can lean on me, yeah.
The event commenced with an engaging keynote interview featuring Sean Cohen, president of Bell Media, hosted by Tyrone Edwards, co-host of CTV's entertainment magazine show, E-Talk. Cohen shared his perspective on the importance of amplifying Black voices in media and offered insights on how the industry can evolve to better represent diverse stories.
It's important that our voice represents the audience, that the content we're creating, of course, is inclusive, and that the stories resonate with the audience, right? Like, I'd say we still have a lot of work to do, and Bell does, and I think that the industry broadly definitely does. But we're committed. Don't get it twisted, we're all in, okay? So on the English original content front, I'll just pull out a stat or two here. We are, I think the stat says that 2023, 45% of all English language entertainment programs commissioned were led by BIPOC creatives or creatives from other equity-seeking communities, right? So that's key roles in front of or behind the camera. It's part of the mandate. It's important to the mandate that is diversity. And I would say the thing that really anchors it to our mission, what we have to get done every day, is it's great business.
Right. Can you do these stories and they sell it? Because you mentioned Wendy and Winnipeg, but that's also something I learned very early in my TV career as to why we limited what we told and how we told stories, because we were worried that it wouldn't land. So do you have any history with that type of content being successful?
Yeah, look, this is what you're talking about is a sibling or a relative of some sort of the myth back in the day that Black doesn't sell. And so maybe I'll give you, I'll relate an example. It's a narrow niche, but it's a good example of how I saw this globally. So at Lifetime, we made a bunch of what I guess used to be called made-for-TV movies, or that kind of movie of the week. And for a long time, there was a myth that was perpetuated that movies that were predominantly Black didn't sell as well internationally. And that would get perpetuated because we would then not invest as often or as much in said movies. Mm-hmm. And so you're like, well, it doesn't sell, so I can do it, and therefore there are less of it, and so on and so forth, right? It's this kind of vicious circle. So along the way, because can be a little bit obstinate, I said, no. It's great stories. And at the time I kept saying good is good, but let's go with great.
We're going with great, yeah.
Great is great. Right? It's not good, it's great. It's gotta be great. So I had the thesis, a bunch of us had the thesis that if it's very differentiated, rich storytelling, it does not matter. And people not only have a tolerance, but a desire to see lots of different kinds of stories and images on screen. And so sure enough, we started making a bunch of Black movies. Sure enough, those movies sold. And I'm not talking about Black Panther, I'm talking about like a remake of Steel Magnolia with an all-black cast, I'm talking about a Whitney Houston biopic, I'm talking about an Aaliyah biopic. Again, some of these, and people are gonna get mad for me saying this, they weren't necessarily great cinema, because it's a weekly movie, but it's an example where we have a myth that something doesn't sell, or that people won't really be moved, be provoked, be delighted by a different kind of storytelling, and they weren't.
Following the keynote interview, the BSO Symposium transitioned to an insightful panel session on the new wave of Black content in Canada. Industry leaders and creatives came together to discuss the emergence of groundbreaking Black narratives in Canadian media and entertainment. The panel explored the current state of Black content in Canada, highlighting both challenges and opportunities for growth and innovation. From scripted dramas to documentaries, the discussion emphasized the need for authentic representation and the power of Black voices to shape Canada's cultural landscape.
When you're a creator, you're trying to say I have a new invention for a mop. And everyone's like, there's like 95 mops. And you're like, no, but this one, if we do this little thing, I think like people who need this mop can help them. But you're not an engineer, you've never invented anything before, not like that, but you have this idea that you believe it. And it's, like I said, if you just take that creativity and put it up against the business, what the market wants or needs or what have you, it's a really raw and tough journey.
Writing all the time, right? I'm creating all the time. It's like, I just feel like the more that I'm connected to like my humanity as a person, the better I can engage with the page.
Content is changing and we are at the forefront of it.
And I was rushing just to get the bus, and I got the bus, and I was really depressed because nothing was working as per usual. And the bus driver just stopped me and just, hold on. And he let other people come in, and I was like, oh, don't tell me my bus pass is out. It's like, come on. And he just told me, listen, I watch your show, and it's the only thing I do with my daughter. And she's 9 years old, and we're learning about Black history, and I just want to thank you so much. And I was like, oh my God.
I think when you're making a show and you're so focused in these moments on the content and what it's going to be and whatever, to like understand that it could have an impact. As a writer, the biggest change I've seen is that when we started, I felt like there was kind of a vibe like you didn't want to write a script that had like a Black main character. Like maybe you would put one like in the side, but like if you wanted to get it made, that you would have to have a white lead. And now I feel like that really isn't the case. Now that's not to say it's gonna get made, but it's more like nobody's giving you that advice really anymore. And in fact, people are really asking you to be authentic and have your original voice and all of those things. And I think when I started, that kind of was not the sentiment. And you were really trying to fit into the mold so that you could break into this established mold that existed that you were not a part of. And now I think we're kind of understanding how that could change and have a place where we could be a part of it and be our authentic selves.
And I think the one thing that we have the opportunity to do, which we didn't have back in the day, and for me, this is a new, is that we're global. We don't need to just be thinking about Canada. As Black creators, we can go around the world and we can actually find partners who are interested, engaged, who actually genuinely want to support, creating and producing and greenlighting Black content.
Because there's no revolution without organization, so that's what we're really trying to do. Educate ourselves, mentorships all the way. It's really about us all the time. And that just makes better content.
BSO Programming Manager Andy Marshall and CMPA's VP of Communications and Marketing, Andrew Addison, introduced the BSO CMPA Producers Accelerator Program, which aims to provide support and resources to emerging Black producers.
The BSO CMPA Producers Accelerator Program. So I'm very happy to announce that we are starting a new Producer Accelerator Program. This is for Black producers who have done some work, the short films, web series, what have you. They've decided that they want to be in this industry despite how it's imploding or how it's expanding, whatever, they said, you know what, I want to be here and I want to have a chance at a career. And one of the things that the CMPA does so well are producer internship programs.
This program is designed to accelerate the careers of Black creatives in the industry by offering mentorship, funding, and opportunities for collaboration. This initiative represents a significant step toward empowering Black talent and ensuring their voices are heard in the world of media and entertainment.
We've been doing it for over 30 years, and we've also, for the last 3 years, been huge supporters of the Black Screen Office. Folks like Hayden, Jen Holness, Damon, who's our chair, have really been huge champions and helped us become huge champions of the BSO. The other thing that those folks know and the producers in the room know, if you're the producer, you're the boss, you're in charge, and you are well positioned to drive change. And so a lot of what we've heard about today is that first opportunity, that door that opened, and that's really what this is about. So we're excited about that. So if you're a student in the room, you've got a little bit of producing experience or just a lot of passion, this is for you. You need to find a CMPA member company. There's a bunch in this room right now. I would even say put your hands up if you're a CMPA member. There we go, look around. Go bug those people over lunch and apply. Apply for the program. It's a great program, 20 weeks.
Yeah. 20 weeks, only accepting 6 for this first initial round. So applications open today, and it goes until May the 3rd. So you have a month to find a partner, to apply, and then 20 weeks of a paid internship of you learning what you want to learn, because it can be in any aspect of the industry, whether it's narratives, scripted, whether it's unscripted documentaries, whether it's game shows or live TV. Whatever a CMPA member does, which is the whole width and breadth of the industry, you could learn that thing, business affairs, whatever you want.
That's right. The only last thing I'll say, as Andy alluded to, it's paid both to the company and to the intern themselves, and it's paid thanks to entertainment partners, so I want to give a huge shout out to entertainment partners as well. Thanks, everyone.
The world. We're taking in everything that we see with our eyes, just kind of like a video camera, right? It's just this veridical representation of the world. But the reality is, we only see a tiny fraction of the world. And it's the fraction that's tied to what our goals are. And so if our goals are to notice all the weird things happening, we might notice that. But if our goals are to notice the number of times the players in white pass the ball, that means our brain tries to help us out. It says, we're going to ignore the rest. And it means you miss big things, like a guy in a gorilla suit walking through the center of the screen, beating his chest, and leaving. Our blind spots determine what is possible. So when we're thinking about trying to change the world, when we're trying to increase Black representation, there are likely some assumptions we're making about how the world is or has to be that can restrict the kinds of possibilities that we can imagine.
In another impactful session, TIFF President Cameron Bailey led a discussion on global content commissioners. The panel explored strategies and opportunities for commissioning Black content on a global scale, with a focus on international partnerships and distribution.
But it feels like there's still more that we could do. And if you look at music, for instance, you look at Afro beats, you look at reggae music, you look at hip hop, there is a way for Black content to go even more global.
So Jamaica is 3 million or less than 3 million people, that's one. So of course I'm trying to serve the locals there, right? I've been on a number of panels and have multiple conversations where they're saying there is no space for Black Caribbean content. And I'm here to say that's not true, because when I picked up my phone earlier, it's 175 million grossing for Bob Marley, One Love, and it wasn't dubbed, it's in English, right? So there is a space for our stories with this $1 billion, which has never happened for our industry, the Jamaican industry, and I have to speak specifically for Jamaica. But you know, as I'm here, the conversations will continue because I want a co-production treaty with Canada, right?
That's right.
That is how our content is going to be seen, because we take advantage of each other's audiences.
So when I look for content that's going to meet that. Because if our viewers are spending time on social media, it means they've got the data to stream, they've got the data for SVOD, AVOD, TVOD. They have the data, they want the content. So I'm now no longer looking just for African content, but African content or Black content that can resonate with young Africans who are wanting to connect more.
The panelists discussed ways to amplify Black stories and connect them with audiences worldwide, highlighting the global demand for diverse perspectives. Attendees gained valuable insights into the processes and considerations involved in commissioning and distributing Black content on an international level. This engaging session showcased the potential for Black creatives to make a mark on the global stage and establish their place in the international media landscape.
So I think more collaborations with music, social media, and producers, and getting those stories that we don't know about. I mean, I was telling them in the green room, my nephew was saying, why are you going to Canada to speak about Black content? Are there Black people in Canada? And he was genuinely asking, a 21-year-old boy is genuinely asking me, are there Black people in Canada? What does that mean? He needs more representation on his side. The only thing he knew about, Letterkenny and Kim's Convenience. That's all he knew. And I was like, do you understand? There is so much content for you to to see. He's like, how do I see it? So streaming platforms, I believe, also can play a very big role. If the broadcasters aren't carrying this content, streaming platforms have to carry it so that we can get access to it.
What are the pros and cons of producing and disseminating work locally for local audiences versus local for global?
Is that there are opportunities for us to think about partnering beyond just at the independent producer level. And I think that's where we need to move, is that we need to think about how we're partnering at the broadcast level, but with other partners that are trying to disseminate and distribute content. So,
and our people are telling us that we want to learn about America, we want to learn about Canada, we want to learn about our people. And if broadcasters are saying no, streamers are coming to eat their lunch, and they're coming very fast. YouTube is coming, Showmax is coming, so many streamers are coming. And streamers must carry on doing it, because what we are showing is that irrespective of our low economy, irrespective of whatever, when we find access to data, we want to watch online. And if the content is there, they will find it and they will watch.
Yeah, and just to add to that, just ensure that that content is highest quality.
Not necessarily. I mean, let's be honest. No, let's be honest. Let's be honest, right? How many people used to watch, I'm going to get shot for saying this.
Yes, you are.
How many people used to watch Nigerian content in the beginning? In the beginning, right? The camera angle was shaky, there was a mic coming, there was even the subtitles were dodgy. But people watched, and Nollywood is massive now. So I think what that showed was that the fact that Nollywood, the Nigerian producers were saying, screw it, we don't have a budget, we have shit quality cameras, we've got no sound, but we will make this content. And we watched it.
No, it's true. I'm pushing for high quality content because I want my producers making money.
Ultimately, you have to collaborate and build a direct connection, because if you look at the audience outside of Africa, the Afro-descendant audience, there's about 200 million people. That is enough to sustain at least 3 to 4 massive businesses that speak specifically to them.
I think you have to think about initially the story. I mean, we can talk about the partnering and how we come together and working with independent producers and treaties and all of those things, but it is about finding content that will actually transcend, that has the ability to, I think, reach an international audience. Yes, we can talk about the Black experience and diasporic struggles or things that we go through, but what is that content that actually is going to have international impact and resonate? So I do think it actually begins with IP before you even talk to the financial aspect, which is this local to international, because that's the way to finance today. Yeah.
An interactive Conda session allowed participants to engage with speakers and panelists directly. Attendees asked thoughtful questions about the industry's future, challenges, and potential solutions for elevating Black stories. This session provided a platform for open dialogue and the exchange of ideas, further solidifying the connections made during the event.
we don't see ourselves here. We're told, oh, the content should go to Africa. Oh, they go to Africa and they say, oh, by telling a story about Africans in Canada, go and sell it to the Canadian market. So we don't know what to do with our stories. We're just stuck with it. Where do we fit in, and how do we go about sharing our stories about the African diasporan experience? That's my question.
Thank you.
Can you give an example of a really positive co-production partnership between, for example, South Africa and Canada? Because often folks will say, just do it, but what are you seeing is really working right now?
But these platforms are now there to consume that content. So just beyond our major members, working with the multicultural streamers, taking them to these multicultural festivals, what it does now to the festivals is now these multicultural festivals, they have buyers. Because traditionally in the US, you don't have the buyers that you have at Sundance, Tribeca, Telluride, or TIFF here. You just kind of win Best Picture, and as my friends will tell me, and you get that certificate and you go home. And you pray that there's another project, and you crowdfund, you bake sale and everything else for your next project. But now you will have streaming platforms that are looking for content, and you are looking to monetize your project. So that's been over the last 6 to 8 months, something I've been really focused on, because we got so many stories and we really need to provide the platform for them to be told.
Part of the lesson that I try to teach everyone is, when you're making a film, the first thing you gotta think about is who is your audience. So a lot of what I do is just like audience curation and understanding psychographics and how are you gonna connect your project with the people that you wanna see. Because if you make a project and no one sees it, that's the biggest issue. I mean Spreader won ABFF, won pretty much every award at that festival, right? And what I learned from that process is that no one besides the filmmaker is going to be the strongest advocate for the project.
For those of you, is anybody familiar with real estate investment trusts? You guys know REITs? Yeah? So imagine a future in which we have film funds which have a similar business model as a REIT, which will allow us to all be shareholders in the creation of our own access to finance. So that is the future that I see for access to finance for all our content.
Share financing vehicle for producing Black content.
On the stock exchange.
The symposium also hosted a breakout roundtable session. Participants gathered in smaller groups for focused discussions on a range of topics related to Black content creation and representation. The roundtable format allowed for more intimate conversations and deeper exploration of specific themes and challenges in the industry. Attendees shared their experiences, ideas, and potential solutions, fostering collaboration and the exchange of best practices. The breakout roundtable session emphasized the symposium's goal of empowering Black creatives and driving actionable change in the media industry.
What are your suggestions for the BSO? Because now we have the BSO that can kind of create an infrastructure. How do you think they can do that? What are your suggestions?
And I think the thing that's really encouraging about this particular symposium and the people who are here is a lot of people who are attending this thing are new to the industry, so they're not kind of inculcated with that old way of thinking. Like there's a lot of possibility in terms of like, I don't know the old way, but I can help build the new way. And if we all work together, build networks and connections and collaborations, we can help build that new way together and expand the possibilities of where we can tell our stories and how we can tell those stories. So that's kind of what I took from it.
I think there is a lot of power when we have different corners of Canada and the United States coming together, just sharing that they are feeling the same problems, the same issues, and we all want to tell the same stories. So I think it was really cool for us to be able to talk about that today.
What was so special about this event is I just spent 4 years at York doing screenwriting, and I was the only Black person in my entire program. So this is the first time I've ever been able to talk to these many Black creatives. It's been a rough journey. It's been a hard journey. I feel like I constantly have to fight to just have my ideas heard or acknowledged. So it was really lovely to share space with everyone. I would just in a future event like this, just more time to also network, because networking is so important. A lot of the ways you get to the top or you get that community is by just having conversations with people and sort of pushing your expectations and getting to collaborate and work together.
So broadening our scope beyond Canada, beyond North America, that was my biggest takeaway.
So we have to start thinking
from a perspective of infrastructure. And when I mean infrastructure, I mean money. And I mean, how do we have closer access to those people who would give money for us to make our production? And how do we get enough business sense to know that, yes, we are creative, we have passion, but it doesn't mean much and it can't translate to much if there isn't any funding to back it up to make it a reality. So, I think we're naturally creative, and then there's us who go and hone our skills even further. So what happens when the dust settles? Are we empowered by education from the business perspective of entertainment business, film business, to understand how to recoup our money and then make more, so that we can leave the door open for the people coming who are not going to meet all of the soft money when it's their turn?
So from my perspective, there were a lot of great nuggets of information that, I took from today, namely really focusing on creating great content, spending that time in development to making sure that your characters have depth, that the storylines are interesting, and that you resonate with your audiences.
Don't let the conversations just be a ranting session. Let's actually move and create things that can happen. It could be something as simple as, hey, let's have a writing session once a week. Hey, let's shoot something and test it on our audience. But actually do something action-wise rather than just talking.
There's so much talent around us, but we might not feel like we have the opportunity. Send the email, send the message, see who's willing to come on board, whatever it is, and actually do those things so we can, like you said, we don't just talk about it, we're actually doing it and getting together. So I realized that we're all still looking to connect. I think for me as an artist sometimes, or for a lot of people, it can be very isolating no matter what space you're in. You can be the only Black person, you can be the only woman, whatever it is. But then you come into these spaces and realize that other people are experiencing the same thing. So if we come together and we do this, there's something that can come out of it. So it's just a reminder for me. So it's been really great to see.
I love the idea of community, because together we can achieve more. And what they were talking about today, even with the funding and everything, funding is hard, but if you have the proper person to really help you and direct you through it, you can get it.
The symposium concluded with a fireside chat hosted by Donisha Prendergast, Executive Director of HOV, featuring renowned actor O.T. Fagbenle. The fireside chat offered attendees a chance to gain insights from Fagbenle's experiences in the industry and his perspectives on the future of Black storytelling.
I just imagine, as I've had some conversations here with people in the room, there is an energy in here. There is a vibe here amongst people. Yeah. And so I don't think I've got anything to teach anybody out here. These people, you all are doing it. You all know your light. And I just think by coming together, we're going to make that light brighter.
So thank you so much for sharing your insights and your stories. And what a great way to wrap up the day. I'm so thrilled by the energy that's been here throughout the day. A lot of people have been thanking me, but I want to thank you, because if you weren't here, if you weren't part of this, if you weren't hungry for it, if you weren't thirsting for it, if you didn't spend if it wasn't important to you, then that feeling wouldn't be in the air. And so I'm so thankful to you for being here and for making this event what it was today.
The BSO Symposium left attendees with a renewed sense of purpose and determination to continue their journey toward a more inclusive and equitable media industry.
Thank you.